but the old school. Woo! Tonight, open up your heart, open up, and come get my love. Open up your heart, and come get my love. Woo! Bring it back to the old school.
There is no society anymore. What there is a transnational security elite that is busy carving up the world using your tax money. To combat that elite, we must not petition. We must take it over. We must form our own networks of strength and mutual value, which can challenge those strengths and self-interested values of the warmongers in this country and in others that have formed hand in hand an alliance to take money from the United States, from every NATO country, from Australia, and launder it through Afghanistan, launder it through Iraq, launder it through Somalia, launder it through Yemen, launder it through Pakistan, and wash that money in people's blood.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
I'm Jewish.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
Hell no.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
Oh God, please go away.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
No, I don't think so, man.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
None of your business.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
I'm all right, boss. Thanks.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
No.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
What I believe is very different from what you believe.
Do you believe in
I'm not
Jesus?
into that, buddy.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
Not a topic I want to get into.
Do you two believe in Jesus Christ? I'm going around asking people. Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
Some people don't want to be asked that question.
Do you believe in Jesus Christ? I'm going around asking people. Would you say you believe in Jesus Christ? No. Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Do you believe in Jesus?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah.
Excuse me. I just have one question. Do you guys believe in Jesus Christ?
No.
No?
Yo, it's amazing. I bet every one of those people that get real indignant when the guy asks, do you believe in Jesus Christ? I bet they have a lot of opinions, too, that they like to ram down people's throats. You know what I mean? They make it seem like, oh, you're just being intrusive. You know, these are the most intrusive people there are because they just have a different religion. You see, it's not that like, you know, they're mad because the guy's asking them if they believe in Jesus. But the fact is that when it comes to their gods, like Barack Obama, like the Democrat Party and all that nonsense, I'm pretty sure they're very, you know, they love to proselytize, too. Joe Rossinello, what's happening on this Palm Sunday?
Well, we begin with Brooklyn's own. You see the Sicilian tattoos on his arm. He has the three-legged woman.
Three-legged woman, which, yes. Listen, I've seen it all as an Italian-American. I've never seen the three-legged woman.
Well, I think that's a classic. That dude, I sometimes follow him. He makes me laugh. So you always try to begin the show with a little laugh. Julian Assange went to prison for speaking the truth. Prison, dude. He spent in real jail. So, I mean, that should tell people something. You know, obviously, he has something to say with regard to the military state, and he basically said it. And here we go again. We're in Iran fighting another war. I don't know what to say. Trump, when it comes to this war, if you ask me, the cards are on the table. America is a full-fledged empire. It's an empire, dude. He's not even pretending that it's not an empire. This was not a provoked war. If you ask me, it's a twofold war. One, Israel was going to make a move, and I think we jumped in the fray before they did. And secondly, I think Trump wanted to take the Straits of Hormuz and control the oil flow. This was not illicit war.
Would it shock you?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I actually think that is more of a reason why we're in the war than Israel. I actually think Trump saw the Straits of Hormuz and said, this is something that I could hold over China's head, and I'm just going to take it. And frankly, obviously, Israel had a play in this too, but I actually think that was the play. And that doesn't make it licit. People are dying. We weren't attacked. We have no business being there, if you ask me. And at the end of the day, more people are dead, more money going out the window, and America
Right.
starts from ground zero once again in another war. When will it end? When the empire ends.
Well, that's now. E. Michael Jones thinks that we're at the end of what he calls the Third Republic, which is
I've heard them say.
like the end of the American Empire. And I hope he's right, because I don't want to be a nation. We don't need. See, this is my problem. We have such a powerful culture, all right, and a powerful country. And what I mean by powerful is most people, not all, certainly. Okay, most people. We value we believe in God. We believe in the moral law. We believe in our Constitution as a proper way to structure a government. We respect the rule of law. Of course, this is what Julian Assange is saying, is that in order to actually have a country that reflects that, you need to take this over, meaning basically you have to overthrow it. The system is so entrenched, and they've made it that way, that any notion of doing that would become it's going to be a painful process.
But that doesn't make it licit, like in terms of.
I'm not saying it does.
No. But like, I understand, like I've been following Parethian in action, which I definitely recommend to people. It's very good and informative. They do like a couple clips a week, 12 minutes a pop, cover 3 issues. Really good, like pieces that they put out, smart ladies. They're talking about particularly the city of London, how basically London controls the prices of oil, and also the Lloyds of London through insurance basically has the world by the neck when it comes to oil, controlling those straits. And basically Trump turned that upside down. That's their premise. Now, that could be true. I'm not going to pretend like it's not true, or it may not be true. It's well thought out, the theory. Trump is a smart guy. If that is the case, that still doesn't make it licit, because you're killing people. You're killing people. We weren't attacked. We weren't provoked. And if it was Israel's deal, meaning Israel was going to make a move and we jumped in, and that's what Marco Rubio said, that's very possible too.
Right.
When are we going to stop with that relationship? I'm not talking about being anti-Semitic. I have every right to criticize Israel from a political position, just like I could criticize Spain or Portugal or any country for that matter. When are we going to make a decision that's only about us? Only about us. Like, why did we go to Iraq? Why? Why did we go to Syria? Why? Cost lives. You know, Syria, probably about 500,000 people are dead as a result of that. And basically a terrorist is the president of the country now. We overthrew that country. Iraq, right. What did we get out of that other than debt? And the region's in chaos. Now we're in Iran. If it is about the Straits of Hormuz to control it from an economic perspective, even if Trump is successful and that was the driving reason behind it, that doesn't make the war licit.
Right.
And if it was Israel that pushed us, and that probably had a secondary cause, I do think, meaning they were going to make a move, and we have interests, obviously, in the region. So we tried to basically, make it like a less of an onerous situation. When are we going to take control of that situation and basically tell Israel, listen, we're your friend. When we have interests that we share on a mutual plane, we're all about helping you. But obviously, this has to end. This lobby has to end. All the super PAC money has to end on every front. That definitely has something to do with what's going on here. Anyone who doesn't think that is naive. And that's been going on for way too long. Way too long, Joe. And to be truthful with you, to criticize that, if you ask me, is not being anti-Semitic. That is criticizing any type of lobbying. That was the hole in our country. in the Constitution. It was the loophole that ultimately brought us to this point, not just with Israel, with all of it, with the military industrial complex, with the NRA, with the NEA, with the teachers union, with the Teamsters. Union graft, because that's what lobbying is. It's graft. It's giving money to the government for purposes which basically say not all of us are equal under the law. Our votes are not equal. And the
Well, we're going to get into that today with the SAVE Act. But go ahead.
but that should never have been allowed. And that's what took our country down. And that's why the SAVE Act isn't being passed. And we're going to talk about that later. Because 83% of America wants it. 83%. Overwhelmingly, African Americans want it, Hispanics want it, Democrats want it,
Right.
and the Senate seems to not do anything about it
They
because
don't.
of the lobbies.
I
And
think we're going to get into all that. I do want to mention one thing though. I might actually know that Italian guy in that first clip. Who is he again?
oh, dude, he's from like Long Island. He's originally from Brooklyn. He's like
Because he looks like somebody who I was driving in a car with, who is exactly like that. The thing is, I was in the driver's seat. I've known a lot of my. It's funny that before mass today, I said to my son, I went because once in a while I nudge him and I say, "How you doing?" Right? I say it like that, and my son looks at me. He goes, "How you doing, Pop? I'm doing okay." And I said to him, I said, "You do realize that Papa used to talk like that all the time, because that's all I hung around with. That was guys, and I grew up that way. Say, hey, how you doing?" So I can't. I love that guy with the cigar. He's driving a nice car. He's got the cross on his chest. He's got tattoos all over the place. I swear I know that guy from somewhere.
no,
but
he,
if I
he
don't,
has like a
I
pretty
was
big.
definitely in the.
He has a big
What?
following.
That guy's hysterical. I do want to say this about Julian Assange. Julian Assange, when a lot of conservatives should wake up like I did and realize Julian Assange is actually your friend. He's not your enemy, okay? And the same with, what's his name, Snowden, okay? I used to buy into all the conservative nonsense that he's a traitor to his country. You want to know what? To be a traitor to this CIA that has been running roughshod over the world, using our tax money, American military, to enforce the will of the oligarchs throughout the world since the end of World War II. Michael Jones points this out all the time. You know what? That's not my country. I'm not being disloyal when I say that. I don't want the CIA to have that kind of power. And on another front, this is one of the problems with the New World Order, with what they want to impose. I shouldn't give a damn what goes on between Israel and Iran. What I should care about is the President of the United States. If somebody says we're threatening to use a nuclear weapon, now again, I'm just taking the logic, Joe, one step further to say to Israel, you use a nuclear weapon, you are now an enemy of the United States. We are now your enemy. You will not use a nuclear weapon. You want to go to war with Iran, you can go to war with Iran. Nobody has ever used a nuclear weapon except the United States of America. And that's a different conversation.
Well, that was the mistake, to be honest with you. That was the mistake of the United States. We permitted that. LBJ permitted that. And also, Tucker just had an interesting interview with a gentleman who opposes Bibi in Israel. I can't think of his name off the top, but he did it.
He was an interim president of Israel and a member of the Knesset.
Yes,
he's
correct.
not a lightweight guy.
No. And he's an intellectual book, like big time. He calls for Israel to get rid of the nuclear weapon. All of the Middle East having and frankly, that is a very shrewd move.
But Joe, listen, we have to understand something. And this is where a lot of people, particularly Catholics, are running into a lot of problems with other Catholics and some of the leadership in the Catholic Church when they point out that Bibi Netanyahu believes that, I forgot if it's Gideon or Joshua, and the enemy are the Amaleks. And he's reading sola scriptura from the Old Testament that it needs to be wiped out. Like, this is the way Bibi thinks of himself, okay? And when you point that out as a Catholic, you have to say, then what are you capable of, Mr. Netanyahu? What are you? Or does that mean that if that's your mission, God's mission, by the way, for you is to wipe out Amalek, does that mean you have the right to use nuclear weapons? I mean, these are questions, so I don't have an answer to.
No, well, it's funny. I've heard that as well, and do I think that they would potentially use a nuclear weapon?
I absolutely do.
So do I.
Absolutely do.
So do I. And to your point, the United States should not permit that. And this is I want to bring this up. An Israeli who disagrees with Bibi Netanyahu's politics, and frankly, he was a very clear-headed individual. I listened to the interview, and I agree with him that there should be no nuclear weapons in that region. And this sets a dangerous precedent, because I will tell you this. The reason why Iran got bombed is because they don't have a nuclear weapon. If they had one, this would not have happened.
Right.
And I will tell you this. If I was an Iranian, after this just happened, I would absolutely push for that. That's just me, because that's why North Korea is not attacked, because they have a nuclear weapon. That's what this precedent shows. That's what it shows. And I'll be honest with you, this is dangerous. And if, again, all speculation, a lot of conversations going on. If it was about taking over the Straits of Hormuz, Trump just spoke at a public forum a couple of days ago. He called it the Straits of Trump, which I think.
See, this is where he goes too far.
Right, absolutely inappropriate to say. If it was about that, if it was about controlling the choke point for oil, we're full on empire, not even hiding it anymore, not even pretending anymore, and ultimately the empire will fall.
Well, this can't sustain itself. It really can't. On a financial level, on a moral level, none of this expansionism. I mean, look, what was the downfall? And then we're going to get into the show. Everybody here at the front line with Joe and Joe. We got Mike Lee and the SAVE Act, a couple of clips from the Supreme Court, black conservatives, which are really persona non grata amongst of all people, white liberals. They don't like black conservatives, and they probably use words that they tell us we're not supposed to use to describe those people. Tucker Carlson, we're going to talk a little bit about him. We're going to go to Canada and talk about Bill C-9. That really should have you quaking in your boots. But that's the thing, Joe Resinello, is that when you play that clip from Julian Assange and he's talking about, we have to overthrow this system. Number one, I do believe that that's possible. The only problem is I believe it's so difficult because they've set a system in place that is so entrenched that anything you do to change this system, okay, is going to cause a lot of pain and suffering on the part of a lot of people. Now, here's the thing, though. You do say, all right, but if you want real change, if you want to transform society into something that's going to not be what it is right now, meaning American society, well, guess what? No good thing is going to come about without a little pain and suffering. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway, you're with us at the front line with Joe and Joe. We got a lot of our friends in the chat room. We got a decent group going. So let's go, Joe, to something that's going to give me a lot of agita to play. But let's watch these clips, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the SAVE Act.
If everyone is family, no one is family. If everything is urgent, nothing is urgent. If everyone is given the benefit of citizenship by allowing them to vote, then citizenship means nothing. That is the core message that I wish our Democrat colleagues would accept, and I am confident they will ultimately accept as we continue to make this argument, because we're not going away. I'm not going away. I will be back on this floor, in this chamber, day after day, week after week, month after month, as long as it takes. I'm not giving up. Not a chance in hell am I giving up on this, because this is about the American dream itself. This is about the fact that when you allow non-citizens to vote, you are robbing something from the American people, from each individual American citizen, something which is distinctively, rightfully theirs. You cannot take that away. You are taking it away when you allow somebody else to cast a vote that will cancel out yours. That, Mr. President, is unfair. It is unacceptable. It is un-American. It is illegal. We must not tolerate it, and we will not.
Hey, everybody. Tim Burchett. I'm here in the Capitol Rotunda, and I'm a little ticked off. I'm ticked off at the Senate leadership, how them and the Democrats have decided to thwart the agenda of our president, going home for 2 weeks, not addressing the Save America Act, which is of the utmost importance. We need to get that in.
The House has a bill to fund DHS.
course, we'll secure the border and pay our TSA agents and fund the men and women who work to protect American citizens. And the Democrats and the Senate leadership have, it's clear that they just want to derail the Trump agenda, and that's all they're up to. And until we get back here and get back to work, that's not going to change. And it's pretty pathetic to go home at 2 o'clock in the morning, or vote at 2 o'clock in the morning, and kind of leave, well, not kind of, but really do leave the taxpayers high and dry of this great country. And I don't blame the rank and file members. They have no say-so in it. This is clearly a deal that's cut. Our Speaker of the House didn't even know. They didn't have the courtesy of making a phone call over there. So it's clear that they don't want us in the majority. They want the status quo to continue. They apparently want to open the borders and continue not funding our TSA, because that's the way their votes have shown. So we'll keep fighting. We're still here. Thank y'all for sending me here.
Your fellow Tennessean Congressman John Rose says that Leader Thune should be removed as a consequence of the little act that you just described. You and I have got a little bit of experience removing Republican leaders from positions in chambers. Do you think that John Rose is right?
I've said that for quite some time now, Matt. I think that it's time to start moving on with these guys. They're not going to do what they said they're going to do. We got the majority over there. They ought to act like it. You've got Senator Lee, makes a very good case for the Save America Act. And just every day we delay it, to me, allows for more shenanigans, to get, more ingrained into our system.
What you're watching right now is, as we mentioned earlier, it's not just the end of, let's say, the Third Republic, all right, in American history. This could be the end of America, because what they're doing, Joe Rossinello, all right, and this is what I was going to say earlier. You have a couple things going on. Number one, you have this move that's been going on in the United States government through the agencies, particularly the CIA, to expand American influence overseas, okay? And like you said about the Straits of Trump, the Straits of Hormuz. All of the things that we've done for the last 80 years just reminds you of what led to the downfall of ancient Rome, which was they just wanted to keep expanding. It was expanding. It was expanding. Whereas there was a very large and vocal voice at the time that was saying, we don't need to do this. We're powerful. We could remain powerful and influential in the world, but we don't have to be spreading ourselves all over the place, taking over everything. And America is doing the same thing. That was Julian Assange's point when he was talking about oligarchs and expansionists and everything else. And what they do in the country, okay, is they continually thwart the will of the American people while proposing those things moving outward into the world. Inwardly, they make sure they entrench their own power so that they're never out of office, so that they can achieve one while at the same time not being held accountable by the American people. That's why they won't pass the SAVE Act. And John Thune is a traitor. He's a traitor. I already know the Democrats are traitors. They hate America. John Thune is a guy who says he loves America. And I'm just going to leave you with this. 2 times in recent history where the absolute will of the American people was so obvious. One of them was Obamacare. 70% or more of the American people were against Obamacare. They did not want it. And Republicans and Democrats got together and they voted for it. And they passed that legislation. When it was about to die, John McCain, who was on his deathbed, basically, because of personal reasons, went to Washington to vote to keep Obamacare. Obamacare is a big example, and the SAVE Act is the second biggest example of where it's so overwhelmingly obvious what the American people want, and neither party's leadership is willing to do it. I'm disgusted with the whole thing. Disgusted.
To your point, I don't know if America will recover from this, because here's the thing. If you look at X, it's very clear that a lot of people are aware of what's going on based on the views. Elon Musk put out a clip that basically said any trade, this just gives you an idea of the views.
Mhm.
Any senator that does not vote for this, basic common sense legislation that over 70% of Democrats are for, okay? 50 million views.
Right.
And that's just one clip. So how do you recover from this? The reason why Mike Lee, who I definitely respect, and he's trying very hard, wants the Democrats to basically argue it because they don't have an argument.
They don't.
Well,
They
they don't
no
have an
argument.
argument. It's ridiculous. And the very fact that 83% together of Republicans and Democrats and everyone in between want this, and John Thune cannot get the votes. Now, listen, whatever you think of John Thune, I happen to think he's definitely not on our side. Let's put it that way. I didn't like his pick in the beginning. Charlie Kirk said basically, and you could look this up historically, we'll give him a shot, but then if he basically does not come through, he's got to go.
Yeah.
That's a Charlie Kirk, just,
Mhm.
you know, a voice of sanity, in my opinion, out there. John Thune did not get the job done. When you don't get the job done, however he's got to go. And Burchett is calling for his head. All they need is 5 senators, and he could be basically thrown out. He should be thrown out. This should have been a layup, and he didn't do it. Here's the other sick part. To basically,
does it get thicker? Does it actually get?
Oh, it does, because they can't eradicate. People are saying, Trump's basically saying, get rid of the filibuster. You need 50 votes. They don't have 50 votes. They don't have the votes, even if they wanted to eradicate the filibuster. That's, as Trump said, you're a leader. It's time to be a leader. You have to rally the cats. You have to basically herd the cats. He failed. He's got to go. You see, that's the message that has to come from this, that shows that 83% of America wanted this, and you couldn't get it over the finish line. You just lost your job. That's accountability. But how does America recover from this? How does anyone take the country seriously? As basically Mike Lee said, what does citizenship mean then?
It doesn't mean anything.
It means nothing. Nothing.
They can't define. Like, I always thought intuitively, okay, even when I wasn't necessarily, politically minded, it means something. Like when I was younger, it means something to be an American. It has to mean something. Doesn't it mean something to be an Italian? Doesn't it mean something to be an Englishman? Doesn't it mean something to be a Frenchman? Citizenship of a country means something. It does mean that you have more privileges and rights under our Constitution than someone who is here who is not a citizen. And one of those things that you can't do if you're not a citizen is you don't vote. You don't vote. You don't get the right to vote simply because, well, you pay taxes. Who gives a shit if you pay taxes? You're still not a citizen. You can avail yourself of certain services because of the taxes you pay, but you're still not a citizen. You don't get that right until the right to vote until you're a citizen. And again, this goes back to our opening clip of Julian Assange. If you want to change it, you're going to have to take it over, and it's going to be painful. It's going to be this is how all revolutions have gone. Our revolution, we're a lot of very wealthy men, by the way. I like to break it to all the lefties out there. A lot of white, wealthy Christian men went to their graves, dead, killed by the English, because they wanted to change. They wanted to break away from King George. Well, guess what? If I need to break away from the Democrat Party, if I need to break away from the system that they put in place, I might have to. American citizens have to say to themselves, we might need a revolution, in which case I'm going to die, or I may die. But guess what? We don't seem to be doing it, Joe. We don't seem to be doing it on a peaceful, democratic, constitutional level. At some point, people are going to get fed up. We're going to play a clip later where Tucker Carlson's talking to Sean Ryan. All right, and it's kind of scary when we get to that. But Joe, I'll give you the final word on the SAVE Act and Mike Lee.
Ultimately, like I said, I think this says a lot, and it's no longer behind the veil of the mainstream media. The only people who listen to mainstream media, frankly, are older people. No one listens to that news. Just
Right.
look at the numbers. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at the numbers. People get their news through X, through podcasts, through experts on podcasts. No one's looking at the mainstream news. So it's behind the veil. Someone put something interesting. Antonella put something interesting. They know that we know, and they don't care. In many respects, she's right.
She's spot on.
Because
She's spot
here's the
on.
deal. It's brazen now. It's just like Trump going into this war. This was an unprovoked war. It's all in your face. You see, this is again where people talk about our vote. The people have a say. We don't. We don't. That is a farce. It's
Right.
a farce. And here's the thing. It really almost doesn't matter who the president is. Elon Musk sent something out recently talking about the deficit. I invite people to go check out this graph, and it shows how the deficit has grown based upon Republican, Democrat, from 2000 to 2026, how exponentially it has grown. And it grows with each Republican, Democrat. Doesn't matter who it is. The
That's
big,
right.
beautiful bill, it wouldn't have mattered who the president was. It's the same budget. And all you get with the president is some executive orders, which throw red meat to the masses who voted for him. And the second that the president's out of office, they get wiped away, and other executive orders. So ultimately, foreign policy, the endless wars, the military-industrial complex, and the budget, no matter who the president is exactly the same.
Right.
It is. So ultimately, your vote means nothing.
But then here's why I get mad at like the so-called MAGA people. Okay. They get mad when you criticize Donald Trump. Dude, the guy's letting you down. I know that you get on your knees and you genuflect to him. I know that you've set him up as a god. I get it. I get your sycophantic idolatry of Donald Trump. I voted for Trump 3 times, and I could damn well criticize that guy. You want to know why? Because he has not followed through. He has proven that he never had the stones to actually go against the deep swamp, the deep state. You brought up the big, beautiful bill. Are you joking, Mr. Trump, President Trump? Is that a joke that there's a deficit in this bill that you said that you were going to try to reduce spending? You sick Elon Musk and big balls and all these kids with Doge to go in there and expose corruption. What did you do? You got your ego a little tweaked. You got your balls in a tizzy, and you got into an argument with Elon Musk, and you stopped the whole thing. But then I'm supposed to sit there and vote for you again? And that's where it gets ridiculous. Anyway, you're at the front line.
I'll be honest with you. Play the Tucker clip, if you don't mind, Joe, because I think it says where this is heading.
All right.
I have my thoughts on it, and I'm interested in yours.
All right, let's go. Let's play. This is Tucker Carlson with Sean Ryan.
I think it's very good, in fact, necessary to force leaders to do what they say they're going to do. Otherwise, come on, dude, we're moving toward one of 2 endpoints. One is a totalitarian society where you just don't have the option of disagreeing. You have to obey because you've got programmable digital currency and universal surveillance, and you just have to do what they say or they'll starve you to death.
It's not going to work here.
I hope it. I pray it doesn't.
It's not going to work.
We're going to have a revolution. It's one of the 2. We're getting totalitarian government or revolution.
It's going to work for a little bit, and then it's not going to work anymore.
I pray you're right. I'm a gold buyer on that basis, an ammo buyer. But again, I have no track record of seeing the future, but I'm convinced that the current course won't work because it's a lie. If you tell people they own the government, they're in charge, they rule through the representatives in this democratic republic, that's what we've told. That's our system. Has been for 250 years. If you tell them that's the system and you don't deliver on it, they go crazy. They go totally crazy. If you tell them, and by the way, I've spent a lot of time in
What do you think happens when a government takes everybody's currency in a country that has more fucking guns and ammunition than anywhere else in the entire world?
I mean, as I've said a million times,
it works for a little bit. And then when the desperation kicks in, that shit doesn't fucking work anymore.
Well, so that's exactly, we're saying the same thing. We're moving toward totalitarianism or revolution. violent revolution. By the way, if you tell people they can't say what they think and their vote doesn't matter, how many options have you left for them? Just one. Violence.
Very fucking many.
That's right. So don't do that. Don't do that. It's much better to give a little. And you do this with your kids, especially when they become teenagers. You reach a point where it's like, you can smell the defiance on them. How do I handle this? Just punch them in the face? Cut them off? Starve them out? No. You listen. You make it clear that you're in charge. You'll be deciding. But you take their position into consideration because you have to, because they're becoming adults. You have to be a little flexible. No, you can't smoke weed at the breakfast table. Like, there's some things you will never accept. But you can't ignore every single signal you're getting from your children. Well, your population's very similar.
I'm getting really angry right now.
Why?
I think we should go. I think we should go out back and blow some shit.
Sorry.
Break.
See, I got to admit, the more I watch Sean Ryan, the more I love that guy.
I like him too. I think he's an honest man.
He's an honest broker. That's what he's an honest actor. And when he asks questions like that, and I'm sorry, I'm tired of people attacking Tucker Carlson too. And yeah, it's mostly like the politically correct crowd who doesn't like the fact that Tucker Carlson promotes inconvenient truths. But here's the thing. Sean Ryan made a good point. What do you do when you try to centralize a currency? Knowing that the people that the people of your country are going to say, no, we don't want that. And they own more guns than any country in the world. Now, I always think about your point that you said at the front line with Joe and Joe for a very, very, very long time, which was they'll turn inward. The government will turn inward and they will wipe you the F out. Okay, you might have an AK-40 or AR-15. You might have 50 guns in your house with a lot of ammunition. But the fact is that there's going to be a lot of dead Americans because if Julian Assange is right, and we talked about that from the first clip. Okay, these oligarchs and everything, they're going to do everything they can. Do you think the Constitution, Joe, is going to stand in their way?
Dude, it's nothing but parchment. It's just paper. It means nothing.
The Constitution means nothing and has meant nothing for a very long time, except when it comes to some good Supreme Court justices, and we'll get to that in a little bit at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe, they'll turn around and they will wipe you out, me out, our families, and it doesn't matter how many guns I have in my house. Now, I might be able to take a few people down, but at the end of the day, we're going to get wiped out. These people have tremendous power. Sean Ryan, in my heart, I agree with him. How do you do that to a country that has more guns than anybody in the world? And Tucker Carlson says, yeah, I buy gold and I buy ammo. I'm of the opinion all that's going to do is maybe give you some personal satisfaction that you took down a government jackboot that was trying to come into your house, but you're not going to win that fight. That fight
100%.
is not. It's not going to happen.
No, I
this
agree with you.
country is going to transform from the ground up. And you want to know what? And this is why John Thune's got to go. And this harkens back to everything we're talking about here today at the front line with Joe and Joe. It starts, look, there's a laundry list as long as my arm and 100 times longer of things that need to change. Certain fundamental things need to change. The SAVE Act is one of them, where people, they don't necessarily agree with the front line with Joe and Joe on all things. But most American people say, but I want that. Why is that so important? Because a lot of the things that Tucker and Sean were talking about, a lot of the things that Julian Assange will talk about, that, Joe, it's like driving through an intersection. Your car doesn't get totaled, but another car T-bones you a little bit, and you get hurt. Okay, it's a shot across the bow of the American people with the SAVE Act to say we're going to vote you the F out, and now all the fraudulent votes, all the illegals, all the dead people, everybody you have voting, the mail-in ballots we're going to talk about in a few minutes, it's all gone. Now you got to run on merit. And then when these people run on merit, Joe, they're not going to win elections.
Well, that's why it's not going to pass.
That's right. That's
why it's not going to pass.
That's where the anger comes from, Joe.
Head. And what Tucker said is true. It's one of two options, but here's the deal. The revolution is not going to happen. Larry Fink showed some cards at the last, World Economic Forum. He basically said, because it's true, that the Green New Scam didn't work. Wokeism didn't work. He actually said that. But then he says this: we must move forward at an accelerated rate to get digital currency. Why?
Right.
Because
control.
Of what he just talked about, Tucker and Sean. He sees what's going on. And he knows that is how you control the population. And
That's
here's
right.
the sad part, Joe Pasillo. People will vote for it.
Of course they will.
They will vote for it and put the noose around their own neck. That is the sickest part of it. And then it's over. Because all they have to do, it's like a corporation. I work in corporate America. Notice there's never violent upheaval in a corporate bank or in, say, big pharma or in, say, big ag. Basically, how that works is this. We pay you a salary, and they know that you have bills. Don't be fooled that just because people make a lot of money means that they're financially okay. Many of those people have tremendous mortgages on numerous homes. Their wives spend ridiculous amounts of money, and that's what makes their marriage work, is the money that their wives spend. Don't think that that's not real. So
I
what
believe
happens?
that's completely
you
real.
come in my office and I'm your boss and I say, you're going to do this and you have to work 75 hours a week for the next billion years. Guess what you're going to do? You're
gonna
going
work.
to do it. Because if you don't, I'm going to take away your money. And there's no arguments. There's no swearing. I smile at you. You smile at me back, and you leave my office and you do everything I asked you to do. And that's how corporate America works. Well, it's the same idea with digital currency. You will do what I say because I will delete your bank account and you will starve. And by the way, I know you have those guns because you have to register them. So I'm going to ask you politely to turn them in. And if you don't, I will delete your bank account and you will starve. And if you shoot your guns, I will send in troops to kill you. And then those people who watch that happen time and time again will turn in their guns. The digital currency is the checkmate. It's over. We're North Korea. The party ends. The show ends. The church goes underground. All of it stops.
Yep.
And that is where they're headed. Larry Fink is telling you at the World Economic Forum. And what Tucker is saying, those are your only two options. It's one or the other, but the revolution doesn't work. It's like bringing a pea shooter into like a fight with Mike Tyson. The United States could send a missile into my house and hit me in the head with it. It's so advanced.
Right.
You're going to go out and get into a gunfight with the United States Army.
This ain't 1861.
No, you're not going to go into a field.
On a battlefield.
That's what I'm saying. The Civil War, most of it, the guns, they had 3 shots. It was a fist fight with knives.
But then let me ask you a question. When it comes to, let's keep it with the Republicans for a second, okay? I live in a Republican district, okay, here in Arizona. David Schweikert is our Congress. He's not a bad guy, but he's part of that system, okay?
Of course he is. He wouldn't be there if he wasn't.
Right. But when do the people now? Who do you blame? Is my point, Joe Rossinello, and then we're going to move on. But who do you blame? Okay, I blame the people that are sycophantic in the way they view their own party. No, your party's got a lot of bad actors in it. Our party, now I think you registered as an independent. I believe coming to Arizona, I registered as an independent. I don't want to be a part of a party. I'm going to vote more along the lines of Republican. But the thing is, they take us all for granted. They just come in and grab our vote, and we don't do anything about it. Joe, I've been to a local political meeting. They're bullshit. I'm sorry. They're bullshit. All right. There's nothing new being said. There's no talk like Joe and Joe are having. I asked somebody at one of these political meetings about something that I knew was going to be uncomfortable for them. They were like, you know what? I got to go and talk to this person. But listen, love your support. And they walked away from me. They didn't want to answer my question. There's a lot of people, Joe, that supposedly are our allies. And that's where the problem lies, because they have their own entrenched interests too. They're bought and paid for too. So and none of it changes until from the ground up. See, not a revolution.
100%.
Not a
That's
revolution.
the only way it works.
The revolution's not going to work because weapons are not what they were a long time ago. The federal government, like you said, they'll drop a bunker buster in my neighborhood and kill 10,000 people and not think twice about it. How the hell is your rifle that you have in your cabin, how is that going to defend you and your family?
No, that's ridiculous. That is a pipe dream. Ultimately, you're 100% like spot on. It's the ground up. How do we do this? We have to take back the institutions slowly as they took the institutions, slowly take them all back. Another thing, which is a hopeful sign, a lot of people are turning to the Catholic Church. They're getting baptized in France, in America. That's a sign that people have had enough of what they see. They've come to the end of themselves and they're turning to something else. That's a sign. Because when you have enough people, like we saw in the beginning of that clip, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God when we started the show. Joe, that's the problem.
Right.
I could say this right now as a Catholic. Today's Palm Sunday. I don't know one person, whether it's a church in the middle of Midtown Manhattan in a super expensive area or a poor church in the middle of the Bronx or in a poor section of New Jersey, where people are daily communicants and go to confession regularly who vote for the radical left. I don't know a one. I don't know a one. Now, that doesn't mean the Republicans are good, but what it does mean is what's being pushed down our throats, dude, it's demonic. Sorry, I don't support children being killed up until birth. Sorry, I don't support teenage kids having their genitals cut off without their parents' consent. Sorry, I don't support having people who aren't citizens voting. Sorry. So this is my point. We're not clear-eyed as a people. We have to get clear-eyed, and that's one way to do it, and that's a good sign. But to your point, it has to come from the ground up again. You have to get a population that sees clearly and sees in unison. And when that happens, the tables turn. But until then, nothing changes. Your vote means nothing. The president means nothing.
No, it does. Well, Trump is proving that. Trump is absolutely proving that the presidency means not having the presidency, having the House, having the Senate. You would have thought that we'd get on one level kind of excited, and we're not. But guess what? I love it. I got to say, Joe Resinello, I love it when young black men don't hold back.
Bali, I'm with a grassroots organization called Flip Philly Red. We're here to offer you something different because you've been voting Democrat for the mayor's office for the past 70 years. In regards to bill number 250330, or what's part of the Safe Healthy Homes Act, I would like to ask Philadelphia, are you tired of voting Democrat yet? This is what communism looks like. You work extremely hard to save your pennies, but buy some property and you can't dictate when you want to evict the tenant. Do you really own your property or not? But we know what Philly Democrat politicians love communism for, because they let Comrade Mayor Sherrell Parker raise the communist China flag in the birthplace of America. Tenants can already sue or simply move if it's a problem. But laws after laws scare away independent contractors and create more government-controlled housing. These laws breed entitlement, bad actors, not paying rent, waiting for court dates, squatting on somebody else's property just like Governor Josh Shapiro is doing right now to his neighbors. To the landlords of Philadelphia, when you raise the rents higher up front to cover eviction hassles, I'll understand it. How are you going to tell a small business owner what to do with their own property? How many bad tenants have we seen? Always playing loud music, fighting and harassing neighbors, running drugs out of properties, doing drugs in someone else's property. Are you a small business owner or a caretaker? Are there tenants or are they your children? If the Department of Licenses and Inspections isn't serving good acting tenants properly, then we don't need new laws. We need to restructure the Department of Licenses and Inspections. Over 45 million taxpayer dollars proposed for L&I in fiscal year 2026, and they can't return a phone call? Racist Democrat President LBJ said, I'm going to have these niggas voting Democrat for the next 200 years. But You can change that in November. Stacey Garrity for governor.
Excuse me.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you. Excuse me. Please don't use that language in these chambers. Have a wonderful day.
Aside from him, you see, this is where I get angry. You see that bitch? I'm sorry, Joe. I know you don't like when I do that. That woman that was sitting at the head of that thing. Well, we don't use that language. Have a nice day. He was quoting LBJ. You twit. Okay? They hate guys like that. That guy turns around and says, "You're going to tell me what to do with my property?" Now, as Catholics, we know that there's limits. There still are limits, even to the property you already own. Okay? But that's a different conversation. That kid was making exactly the right point. He's like, "You're going to tell me what to do. You're going to keep ramming these things down my throat." My larger point with that clip is not specifically about what he was talking about landlords and tenants and everything else. And by the way, he was absolutely right. I'm tired of hearing that the people that live in some of these places, they're always the victim of the landlord. Guess what? A lot of times the landlord's the victim of the stupid laws that he was actually pointing out. What I like about that clip more than anything else is the fact that Barack Obama hates that kid. Barack Obama thinks that kid, there's something wrong with him. Barack Obama wants to silence that kid. Barack Obama would go so far as to put that kid in jail if he had the kind of power to do it, because the black liberal Uncle Tom establishment, who are all tools of the oligarchs, as we started out this conversation earlier at the front line with Joe and Joe, talking about the oligarchs and Julian Assange pointing it out, that they are a tool of the oligarchs and they don't want black Americans talking like that kid. And you know what? You ain't going to shut that kid up. See that woman sitting there saying, "Oh, we don't use that," and "have a nice day." Her time is done. They had their time after the civil rights movement. They took over the apparatus of and the power structures in the inner cities in Philly and Newark and Chicago and all these places. Their time is done. You don't take the guy who's annoying in a setting like that, have your thugs come in and just remove him. Your time is done. That kid's time is ascending. Black Americans going against the Uncle Tom liberal establishment. They are on the ascendancy, and that has them quaking in their boots, Joe Resinello.
Is their time done? And this is what I will say. It's because of that young man that they opened the borders and won't pass the SAVE Act, Joe.
There you go. Yep.
You see, they were one step ahead of that young man. They saw the direction the Latino vote was going. 1 in 2 Latinos voted for Donald Trump. 1 in 5 African-American men voted for Donald Trump. That's only going to get bigger. Why? Because he is in the inner city. He's not in the suburbs. And he's watching all the entitlements that his community got from the government to vote for them going to people who came across the border. And that was exactly the reason why they did. And that's the reason why they're not passing it. Republicans included. 83% of America wants this.
Right.
What does that say? It says the Senate is a useless tool of the oligarchs. That's what it says. It says your voice means nothing. Why? Because power is never given, it's taken. The power of the people it's been taken. They're not giving it back. Get that through your head. And if you don't believe me, look at John Thune. I watched him troop through the airport with a smile on his face. He has the nerve to take 2 weeks off. 2 weeks off.
Right.
And he's not giving that power back. Get it out of your head. It's gone. And that is why that kid, in many cases, he's a little bit too late. This should have happened years ago. They've been replaced. The African-American concern for their vote has been replaced. It's been replaced between 10 and 20 million people who came across the border during the Biden administration. They succeeded. They succeeded. And the Republicans helped them to succeed. Why? Because they're not interested in giving power back to the black community, to the Latino community, to the Catholic community, to the white community, to the rural community, to the coastal community. It doesn't matter.
If you're a working person in America,
matters, then pass that vote. But they won't.
They won't. They're not going. They're and let's hope that by God's grace, and I do mean by God's grace, that it gets passed with the teeth necessary to make it effective. And then guess what? Then you will it's not the solution. It's the beginning of the solution, because then most level-headed people, even though many people who might not agree with Joe and Joe on everything, most level-headed people would say, okay, but now I got my power back. Let's see what we're going to do. So it's going to be interesting. So we got to go to Canada, because in many ways, and not necessarily always economically, even though that's another problem up there. But they're really at the forefront, Joe, along with the European Union, of this push to equate the Bible, okay, the inerrant word of God, with hate speech. This is a very, very, aside from everything else we spoke about today, this is a very, very dangerous path that the world is going down.
My friends, Canada just took another huge step towards turning the Bible into a hate crime. While you were busy paying your carbon tax and wondering why groceries cost more, the House of Commons rammed through Bill C-9, the so-called Combating Hate Act, by a vote of 186 to 137. Conservatives, the NDP, and even the Greens voted against it. But the Liberals and the Bloc high-fived like they just saved democracy, which, by the way, is a scam designed to give you the illusion of choice. So now, reading the wrong verse on marriage or sexuality or life or sin could be considered a willful promotion of hatred. Because nothing says tolerance like a liberal minister waving this around and saying, "This is hate speech." Brilliant. Truly elite level logic. So, what does this thing really do? Well, it expands the definition of hate in the criminal code, and it rips out the religious exemption that used to shield sincere believers. So now, quoting the Bible, those dangerous parts about life or marriage or sexuality, could get you dragged in front of an ideologically driven judge, all because little Timmy's feelings got bruised. How progressive. This is the same government that forced pro-abortion loyalty tests, expanded euthanasia towards 100,000 deaths, attacked conversion therapy conversations between a pastor and someone seeking help, and watched over 120 churches get burned or vandalized without barely giving a shrug, all because of the residential school hysteria. And then they responded by talking about Islamophobia instead. Now, they're tightening the noose on Christianity even further. Religious freedom in Canada was already hanging by a thread, but Bill C-9 cuts it. Ideologically driven cops and activist judges just got a blank check to go after your faith. And the next stop is the Trudeau-appointed Senate, packed with the same anti-Christian ideologues who are ready to rubber stamp this disaster. My friends, this isn't combating hate. This is criminalizing truth. And this isn't a slippery slope anymore. This is the noose tightening around the throats of every believing Christian in Canada.
I'm going to throw it right to you. I don't see how people can't. Somebody mentioned in the chat room earlier, we need to read the book of Revelation. I wish people would read the book of Revelation. I think when we're done with Joe and Joe, I got a couple hours to chill. I think I'm going to go bust out the Bible. I'm going to go read the book of Revelation. You want to know what? We got to be reminded. Is that, I used to read the book of Revelation, Joe. I used to think in my mind, well, how could people be so fooled? How wouldn't they recognize the false prophet? How wouldn't they recognize the Antichrist? How wouldn't they recognize this? How are they falling in line? I don't know, Joe. In our lifetimes, we've seen how people have fallen in line with the most ridiculous things. How about this ridiculous? You're going to put a father or a mother in jail because they're teaching their son or daughter that marriage is between one man and one woman. And why? Because it's in the Bible. That's why. And then we wonder, we say to ourselves, can people really be that duped? And that's why I brought up Revelation. You know what? Yes, of course they can.
People, this is what people believe. This is what the secular humanists believe. And frankly, a large percentage of the people in Canada believe that. They have no problem with that. A large percentage of the people in America believe that too, Joe Pasillo, and have no problem with that. And if you ask me, it's a matter of time before hate speech moves in the same direction as it just did in Canada. In America, This is our future. We're looking at our future. And when they have the digital currency in place, again, it doesn't have to be a conversation. It doesn't have to be a yelling match. It doesn't have to be cursing. It doesn't even have to be arresting. If they see that you spend money in a certain way that doesn't comport with the thinking of the machine, they just cut you off.
That's it.
And you're done. And this is how they control the masses. This is how China controls the masses with the social credit score, and they're moving in that direction. They are putting all the cards in place. They're doing it, and they're doing it in plain sight. And people are going along with it. Now, many people have no problem with that, Joe Pasillo.
Oh, right. That's
Many
the issue.
people, I got news for you. If I was put in jail because me and my wife are practicing Catholics and believe what the Catholic Church teaches and do our best to follow it. We have 5 children. We don't contracept. We're pro-life. We believe in traditional marriage, the whole deal. If there are many people in America who find my very being to be disgusting, they would call me a barbarian based upon what I just said right there. Many people, and would have no problem if I was arrested and think I was a hate monger because I believed in traditional marriage, because I believed that a woman should have a child, and frankly, sex should be maintained in the marriage covenant. Oh my God, he's insane. No, I'm not insane. I'm Catholic, and many people have a problem with that. And in Canada, now the government has made it legal to have a problem with someone like me. It's legal to go after someone like me in Canada, and that's coming to America.
But if they accused you, or if you accuse somebody else of committing, according to that same law, hate speech against you, the law is not going to protect you. Think of it this way. Look at, let's say a law like that passed in America. I could give you a million examples of anti-Catholic bigotry. What I would, under these standards, I would call them hate speech coming out of Hollywood. Is the government, if the American government passed a law like that, are they going to go after Hollywood and defend me against them and the garbage that they put out against that has been anti-Catholic going back to the time since I'm a little kid, since they broke the production code back in 1960s? Okay. They're not going to apply that. Here's the other problem. They're going to pass the law, but they're not going to apply it equally. So that what if I'm offended? What if I'm offended?
Doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
And
the point.
by the way, pay your taxes, Joe. You see, that's what I always get a kick out of. Pay your taxes. We're going to teach certain things in schools. Pay your taxes. You don't count. You don't count. And this is, again, and we're going to say we're free.
We're not free. We're not
Oh,
free.
my gosh. That's a farce. It's a farce. And here's the scary part. It's actually scary because people are starting to see that clearer and clearer. And that gets back to the Tucker conversation. And Clarence Thomas warned. He warned the American people in 2020. You could read his dissent because the Supreme Court did not take the case when Philadelphia changed the voting laws by a judge ruling outside of going to their state legislature. That was a violation of their own laws. And the Supreme Court wouldn't take the case. Look it up. You could read the dissent. Clarence Thomas said, we are headed down a dangerous road because people are not going to believe in the elections. And now it's in plain sight that they're saying we are okay with non-citizens voting. And by the way, Joe Pasillo, your tax dollars are being used to give them stuff so they vote the way we want them to. And that's why New York is in a deficit. And that is the straight up and down truth. And if you don't take my word for it, Eric Adams will tell you that. And he's a Democrat. This is the reality of what's going on in plain sight right now in America.
Well, the reality of the situation, and then we're going to call it a day, Joe Resinello, on this Sunday afternoon at the front line with Joe and Joe. The reality of the situation is that we need to, again, all the changes that need to take place, obviously, are going to take place over time. But we need to prioritize the changes that need to be made right now in the moment. The first thing that's got to get done has got to be the SAVE Act. Has got to be the SAVE Act. If we don't get that right, so that we actually have a voice, not just on social media, but also in our politics. Mike Lee was right with that clip we played earlier. He was right. What is there to really, what's special about being an American citizen? If my vote is nullified by somebody who's not an American citizen, what's so special about being American? Nothing. But then again, that's the way the oligarchs want it.
Special, Joe, give me your tax money.
Oh yeah, no, they'll make sure
Give
they take that.
your tax money so we could do things that undermine your way of life and ultimately will drive the country off the cliff.
Right.
That's the direction it's headed. You and I are paying for it, and that's what makes us special. Give me your money.
Give me your money. It all comes down to the money and the power that goes along with it. So thanks, everybody, for joining us here at the Frontline with Joe and Joe. As always, we ask you to share this video wherever you're watching it, X, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, and help us get out to a wider audience. Always a great conversation. Always love getting together with my brother-in-law, Joe, and having these conversations. Remember that we do our Veritas Catholic Radio Network interviews. We post those all over our social media also. So if you like what you see, help us out. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. We're not going to go on next week, Joe, right? Because it's Easter Sunday.
Easter.
It's Easter Sunday. Maybe we'll go on Saturday. Joe and I will figure that out. We'll try to sneak a show in. But if not, everybody have a blessed Easter. We love you all. God bless you. And until the next time, remember that our conversation is your conversation.